man, it's been a while since I actually did a Zoom interview, but today I'm back with, I haven't asked to say your name, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Kalee Roupe is my last name is Roupe. It's just spelled R-U-P-E, and everybody's like Roupe. Yeah, but Kalee Roupe is my name.
Yeah, Kalee Roupe, and today we are going to talk about her incredible story with a kind of cool injury, I bet you would call it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you had asked me to share my story about my spinal cord
Yeah.
surgery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Kalee. Anna and I met over social media, and I just really enjoyed connecting with her and seeing her story and everything. And a couple of weeks ago, I shared my story about my spinal cord surgery that has happened to me about 5 years ago. And she asked me to come on and share my story and my recovery and all of that. And so I'll share my story if you're ready for me.
Yeah. So do you want to use the talking point that I sent you, or?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna read from those. I have them up for myself.
Awesome.
Yeah, so first thing you had asked is if I could explain my spinal
Yeah.
cord story. So when I was 26 years old, and just a backstory of me, I am a full-time speech pathologist. I work with pediatrics. I also am a group fitness instructor. And I'm really, really active. I've been active my entire life. I've shown and ridden horses my whole life. And then I also run an online business. But when I was 26 years old, I was in the shape of my life, to be honest with you. I was teaching somewhere between 5 to 8 classes a week at the gym. I was full-time at my job. And I was also working out on top of those classes I was teaching at the gym. So it was extreme amounts of
Wow.
fitness. I was in the best shape of my life. And I was probably as healthy as I could be. I was eating super clean. And I really felt great. And then all of a sudden it had been going on for about a year and a half. I just had this neck pain. And so I kind of chalked some of it up to muscle soreness. I chalked some of it up to lifting heavy weights, or maybe I had dabbled in some handstand push-ups, but I had pulled back from certain things that I thought had made my neck sore, but nothing really seemed to help. And so what I found was nothing was really helping me. And I had gone to a chiropractor. And then I had gone to my physician. They had given me muscle relaxers. And just kind of chalked it up to thinking that it was just like muscle like tightness, just severe like whiplash maybe, which I didn't really understand kind of how I would get that because I was so well-rounded as an athlete. And so I didn't really understand that. But after about a year, I had finally ended a year with going to physical therapy because I have a very close friend that is a physical therapist. She's also a very active young athlete. And I was like, hey, listen, I need you to look at me and tell me what to do because I can't understand why I should be in pain, especially at night. And that was one of the big things for her, was that I was in pain when I was sleeping, but like I could go to the gym and work out for 2 hours and not have any pain. And then afterwards or that evening, I would have pain. And so she was like, I just don't really understand why you're in pain. And she tested everything out. She watched me. She gave me some exercises to do, maybe thinking it was upper back kind of imbalancing. And she was like, I literally can't find, after about 6 weeks, she said, I can't find anything wrong with you. And I was like, okay, well, what do I do?
Yeah.
Because you can't find anything wrong with me. Then what's wrong with me then? And she was like, I think you need to go get an MRI, is what I think. She said, you are the strongest and fittest I've found. She's like, I can't find any reason why you should be in pain. And I was like, okay. And she was like, you're not having any nerve symptoms at the time. I was not having a single nerve, radiating to my fingertips, nothing that would suggest anything really spinal related. And nothing even to suggest that I maybe even had a bulging disc or a slip disc or something that an athlete would have, right?
Right.
And so I, ended the year, and I said, I lay down in bed one night and I said, I was in tears already. I laid down in bed and was already in tears. And I said, I'm not like somebody that is just a baby about pain. Like I have a really high pain tolerance. And I told my husband, I was like, I'm getting an MRI tomorrow. And so he was like, okay. And so I went to my primary care physician, and I told him what was going on, that I'd been in this pain. And they were like, well, you don't really need an MRI. You're not showing symptoms that would indicate we need to send you for an MRI. And I like right point blank there just said, I want one. I'm sorry, but I want one. And so they said, okay, well, we probably won't find anything. Lo and behold, there was quite a mass in my spinal cord. So they sent me for an MRI. I went for the MRI, came back, in a week. They called me and were like, hey, you actually do have something. It's a mass in your spinal cord. We don't know what it is, obviously, because my PCP was like, we don't know what it is. We're going to send you to neuro. Okay, well, that takes about 3 weeks to get into neuro, because then they've got to send me for more MRIs with contrast. And long story short, from January until to March was when to February was when I finally got in with a specialist in Dallas Fort Worth area in Texas. And I live in Abilene, which is a couple of hours away. And the neurologist here said, we send people like you to UT Southwestern Medical Center in Dallas to a specialist and a surgeon that pretty much just specializes in this type of tumor. And I was like, okay. And they were like, we still don't know what it is. We're going to send you there. And so,
oh my God.
excuse me. So they sent me there. To Dr. Morals at UT Southwestern in Dallas. So if anybody's watching this and you're like, I don't know what to do, or you're having the same problem, I highly recommend going to him. He has one of the highest success rates. So just to kind of put it into perspective, we get there, my parents and me and my husband, we had barely been married a year. Okay. And so all this happens, right? And so we go, and we're all freaking out. We have no idea like what to expect. At this point, I'm educated enough in anatomy and physiology and neurology as a speech pathologist, and I'm educated enough to know like the gravity of the situation here, and like what this actually means for me, and like that walking may not be promised at this point. And so I was just kind of operating on that kind of craziness. And so went to UT Southwestern. The doctor came in and he was like, okay, so here's what we're going to do. And I was like, oh, okay. Like he didn't ask me how I was feeling. He didn't ask me like about anything. He came in, he like turned the MRI up on the screen, and he said, okay, so this is what you have. It's called an ependymoma, which really all that means, it's a mass, it's a tumor inside your spinal cord. So what happens in your spinal cord, for those of you watching, your spinal cord has a like foramen. So that's like a hole that goes all the way down the middle of your spinal cord, right? And then your nerves are around that, right? So the ependymal cells that are around that hole are supposed to slough off and die like the rest of our cells in our body, and then regenerate, right? Well, those cells, he said, this is how he explained it to me, and this is how I understand it today, is that those cells didn't learn how to slough off and die. And so they just kept regenerating into this mass, which is what a tumor is, or a mass is, right? And he said, and what it's doing is it's slowly growing. We know it's slow growing because you don't have any symptoms yet, or any paralysis yet, or any real limitations just yet, because it's really slow growing and it's just barely pushed the nerves out of the way, and started to just move your nerves out of the way in your spinal cord. And I was like, oh, okay. And so, we asked the question, like, what are you, and he didn't even wait for the question. Actually, he was just like, okay, so what we're going to do is we have to do this. We have to cut into your spinal cord from the back. So we have to open up your spine, pull your vertebrae off, open up your spinal cord. And it's not just like, he goes, it's not just like a simple surgery. Like, we can't do this robotically. Like, has to be with my fingers and my manual assist here. And I have to move your nerves out of the way, and I have to pull that tumor out. And I was like, huh, okay. Okay. And so, no big deal, right? Just, messing with my ability to do everything right here, within your hands. But, there was a physical, or physician's assistant, a PA there, and the nurses and the entire team was standing there. And the PA had came in before. His name was Jake the PA. my husband jokes and calls him Jake from State Farm. I'll never forget his name because it's Jake the PA. And so Jake was great because he came in and kind of prepped me and had like this, the PAs normally have a better bedside manner, just for anybody that's listening. But anyways, he came in and, tested my nerves and all that stuff before the doctor came in, and the PA's like standing behind him. And my dad keeps asking all these questions. My dad keeps going, so like, how common is this? And he was like, like 1 in a million. And he was like, what? And he was like, yeah, it's not very common at all. It just happens. There's no like reason for it to happen. There's no like injury that caused this. It just happens to people. And he said it really is just kind of a roll of the dice. And he said you probably should go try your luck with the lottery, because you might win, kind of thing. And he said, it really is 1 in a million. It's not very common. And so then my dad asked the question of, well, how often do you see this? Like, how often do you work on this? And he said pretty often. And my dad was like, well, it's not very common. So how do you work on it? So how common is it? And he was like, 1 in a million. He was like, so how often do you see it? Pretty often. And so like the PA is standing behind him, and he's just like nodding his head. Like, my dad wanted to ask the question, like, are you the guy that people come to? And the PA was like standing there nodding his head like, yep, he's the guy that people fly across the country to see for this surgery. And so it was a really cool experience. And like at that point, I mean, I know it would be crazy, like people, are diagnosed with something like this and automatically have this overwhelming feeling and worry and anxiety and all of that. And from that moment when he walked in and had a plan, I was like, thank God somebody has a plan, right? This is the man that has been sent to fix me. And the good Lord has sent him. And I had this overwhelming, complete feeling of like peace that, hey, he's got this and he's going to do this. And I know he can do this. And I know that, this is what's supposed to happen. And so that was kind of how I felt. And a lot of my parents were like kind of shocked that I was like, yeah, okay, cool, awesome. And they were like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah. They're like, he just told you have to have a major surgery. And I was like, yeah, but he had a plan and he knows what he's going to do and he knows what he's doing. And so that was really, just reassuring, to be honest with you, that it really didn't I really didn't have huge anxiety over it. Of course, I had worries, and of course, I was nervous about it because, again, the complications or the possible, outcome, it's not promised. I was not promised to walk again. I was not promised to even use my hands again because my tumor was way up here at my C6, C7, and T1. So I really wasn't promised to ever be able to do anything that I loved and enjoyed and you know what made me whole again, especially riding horses. So that was a big thing for me. And my dad was like, I mean, I think my dad was freaking out, but he also is my biggest prayer warrior there is. I say this all the time, but I have the best daddy in the whole wide world, and I have the best mama too. But my dad was so just, he was so focused on getting anyone and everyone we knew and he knew to pray for me, that I truly do believe that is the reason I'm here today, and I have literally no limitations and no side effects, no symptoms. Completely healed. I'm clean. My MRIs are clean, because he rallied those prayer warriors, and I do believe in the power of prayer. So, yeah, but
Yeah, I know.
go ahead.
I know my medical trauma and my finding the right people is real because I have had like multiple doctors my cerebral palsy, and I met my doctor and he was great, but I finally had trauma from her. He wanted to try everything in the book to make my EP better than it should be, but I feel like when you have a doctor like that who doesn't really have a plan per se, it really messes with you and you get terrified of everything, especially at a young age. You know what I mean? And so
Yes.
now that I'm 21 and I don't have that doctor because I had her, I'm almost terrified of everything now. Like, I'm terrified of walking in a doctor's office. I do, but I have medical ability. And so it's wonderful that your doctor had a plan and that you had people who are willing to advocate because for you and with you, because some people are not. And that was going to be my next question for you. What advice do you have for people who are willing to a medical situation, who are in need of advocating but don't really know where to start?
I love that. What kind of advice for people? Because really and truly, it was a God thing to be sent to that doctor, to be very honest with you. It all worked out so fast that I look back, and I really will tell you, if somebody wants to try their hand at something, no, absolutely not. If you are not the person who wrote the book on that surgery, I don't want you. If you're not the person who does this every single day, 3 or 4 times a day, then I don't want you. And so, I think really just doing your research on a specialist, and, honestly, if we wouldn't have been sent to him, we would have been doing more research. Excuse me. We would have been doing way more research. But we were sent to him, and then my husband did more research and looked him up and was like, Kalee, I think this is all he does. And I was like, yeah, probably so. And so then when we were confirmed that, right? So I think really just using your resources. I mean, Google's great, right? So you can Google literally anything, but doing your research, reaching out to professionals, reaching out to, there's so many online communities for just specific diagnoses where you can type in a blog somewhere or type in a post and be like, hey, I just got diagnosed with this. Who has the guru on this thing, or who has the, doctor that you would send anyone and everyone to in your family if they had this diagnosis. And so I think just really trying to network. I mean, we have literally the world at our fingertips with this thing right here.
Yeah.
And so it's really, really, I just encourage people, like, don't seek out other opinions, seek out a second opinion, especially if you're going to have a surgery that's like mine, or if you're going to have, a specialist work on you and do all these different treatments. Well, let's try this versus like, I've had 99% success rate with this and I've done it every single time. And I know what I'm doing and this is what we're going to do. Yeah. I think the difference is, you don't really even have to explain that, but I think the difference is having somebody that's really passionate about that one thing, and that's what they really specialize in, and they have really good experience in that. I think it surpasses anybody else's trial and error, because that's burn up years of your life, right? That specialist. And again, like you said, it creates trauma of like, well, why would I trust another doctor when this one was awful, and like, for lack of better words, didn't do best practice, or whatever. And so I think doing your research, I was very fortunate to go to a neurosurgeon here in Abilene. He looked at my scans and said he didn't even want to try his hand at it. He was like, we send people like you to UT Southwestern. And I was like, okay. And didn't really understand it. He explained what he thought we had going on, but he didn't know. And he wasn't going to try and, let his ego get in front of that. And I think that's a very humble thing to do. And I would thank him today if I saw him. I'm sure he doesn't remember me, but I would thank him, until the nth degree, because that kept, I'm walking, and so, yeah.
Let me put my iPad back open.
I think your other question was how it affects my life.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. I've been dealing with some upper respiratory stuff, but yeah. So let's see. After surgery, I really had a very, very fast recovery, to be very honest with you. I was 26, obviously, in the best shape of my life. And I cannot hammer home enough of how important it is to be healthy when you're young, because when something like this hits you, you're so much more prepared. Recovery was so much easier for me than it would have been if I would have been less active, less fit, less healthy, all of those things. And honestly, it's just my mama, because my mama is the best picture of health I've ever seen. And she still runs 3 miles a day. She's in her 60s. She has always been active my entire life. Our family's always been active, but my mom has been active our entire lives. She's always kept us, eating healthy, and, always set an example of health for us, and made sure that we had what we needed. And then also, she set the example of exercising. She set the example of eating a correct portions, and, being active during the day and not sitting on the couch, in the summer when we didn't have anything to do. And so I think my mom is the biggest reason why I am an active person, and why I was in such great shape, was because she's always set that example for me. And so I think that is one of the biggest reasons why I had such a great recovery, was because I really didn't have any other symptoms going into it. So I was very fortunate to find it when I did. And I was also very in tune with my body. I knew that I shouldn't be hurting. I knew that I was in great shape, and I was only 26 years old. And so for anybody out there that's like, I don't know why I'm in pain, you need to go and explore that, because listening and to your body and knowing, hey, just because I don't need an MRI doesn't mean I don't need one. And so even if it were just for peace of mind, I would say go get it, because in the long run, what if you did have that? Or what if you did have something that, again, if I hadn't have found it, it would have progressed longer until I did have more radiating symptoms, and maybe my, post recovery or ability to be normal now and back to pretty much everything I can do would have been squashed. Like I would have had more limitations coming out of surgery. And so I think it's really important to just really think about that for yourself. And but recovery wise, it was very fast, very easy. I mean, the first 2 to 3 weeks were tough, and I will tell you, muscle wise, because your muscles are healing back together back there, it's a lot. But in hindsight and really just thinking about it, I could walk, right? Excuse me. And so, I mean, in 3 months, I was back to, they said I couldn't do lifting or high impact for 3 months. So I didn't do anything until 3 months post. I could do lifting and high impact workouts. And then by 6 months, I was able to ride my horse. So that was much better. Yeah. So yeah, I have hardware. So they fused my spine from C6, C7, and T1. So that is my I have a tiny bit of limitation in my rotation, but really, honestly, nothing that affects my, quality of life.
Right.
As far as like recovery goes, everything up next to the neck gets tight. Even if it's cold outside. And so, having physical therapy every now and then, just if I get really facilitated up in those muscles, they can work on them with dry needling and stuff. But I mean, it has really changed my perspective on everything. But I'm here to tell you, excuse me, the good Lord is for you. So,
yeah. And definitely disability bless you.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, I got a fit of just coughs. So keep talking.
Disability really does change your perspective on life. You can either run with it or better debilitate you. Depending on what your perspective is. Yeah. And I learned that too. My cerebral body, my specific type, not many people see it. You know what I mean? But people think I'm cognitively impaired, and I'm not. And I feel like it's easy to say like, they think I don't know and don't do anything about anything, But I think in the past, disability, you better advocate and you better keep it to move part to people to know that a normal life is possible, and I don't let people walk over me.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, it's so cool.
Yeah, even when people try. I had people try before, and
Yeah.
it drives me crazy.
Well, and I think too, everybody just goes to assume what they think. And so I think, you're such a testament to people, anyone with a disability, and to give them advocacy and give them, that right, and teach them that, you don't let people walk all over you. And hey, I am completely competent.
Right.
I may not walk like you.
Right.
I may not talk like you, but I am completely competent, and I want to be treated like I am. And I want to be treated, like I have the same rights as everybody else. And I think that is such a, a calling for you. And I think that's such a calling for people that, and I think it can be so impactful. And I think that that is something that I really admire about you. So
thank you. Yeah, watching your story is amazing too. I've seen you ride horses. Right now we can't ride here. It's too cold.
yeah, it got too cold for us too. We rode on Saturday, and then we got all this freezing stuff. So yeah, riding horses is something I'm very thankful I still get to do. And
Yeah.
I think my dad was telling me this. We went to the World Show this last year in November, and he said, "Hey, do you remember the last time we were here?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "That's how we don't let it get too crazy. That's how we don't let it get too worried, too anxious, too worried about the World Show thing." He said, "Remember the last time we were here? It was before your surgery, and we weren't sure you were going to get to do this again." And I was like, I was in tears. My dad just like can turn my tears on just like that. But I was like, you know what? You're right, Dad. And like, we did so well. We had such a great World Show. I mean, it was perfect, and I wouldn't have it any other way. And it was because the mindset of that was like, you know what? This is extra. This is a bonus. We get to do this. And so, because we were not promised to do it again. And so I think that is it's just a really cool thing. And I'm very thankful for that. So
Yeah. So I hope you might enjoy this video. Thank you so much for being on my channel. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Comment down below if you have any questions. I will be having information down in the description. You definitely all need to go follow her. And I will see you